Naturally, by the age of 11 years old, right, I started to use drugs. In addition to the drug abuse, the criminal element, the police being involved, and so forth, was my parents weren't there. Right, I grew up with my grandparents, my aunts, and I would often ask myself, man, what's wrong with me, Because I think as children we internalize a lot of that, and we think that we're the problem. How do I disinherit myself from some of the negative things? Because a lot of times we view that idea of inheritance as a good thing. I inherit this, or I inherit this amount of money, or I inherit that, or I inherited these traits or behaviors from others. Sometimes you got also ask yourself, what are the things that I need to disinherit? And when I got saved, I began to give myself to just prayer, hours of prayer. God, I want to do your will. I want to live out your plan and your purpose for my life. I don't want to be an ordinary, average believer. I don't just want to be here and be fully aware of what I was saved from. I want you to help me to understand, what am I being saved for?
Welcome to The Link, where we connect Christ to our broken world. Here on the podcast, we talk about all the important areas of life and culture, presenting Christ as the missing link that brings everything together. Join us on this journey on The Link podcast with your host, Professor X. Hey guys, it's your boy Professor X, and welcome to The Link. As we're coming on to the end of November, we're shifting our focus to understanding the inheritance that God has given us as believers, to know what He has put in our hands so that we can benefit from those promises and really walk in our victory. And today I'm bringing on a very special guest. He is very deep in ministry. He is a missionary. He is a visionary, he's a leader, and I'm going to understand more about his story, how he was able to embrace more of the inheritance of God and really just learn from these challenges that he went through, the trials that he overcame. And guys, I know today is going to be special, so stay tuned to what our guest has to say. Let's get right to it. All right, guys, so today's guest is none other than Imran Richards. My brother.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. It's good to hear it.
First of all, right, I still can't believe we're wearing black. You had to be like spying on me because I know how we get this dude. So, first of all, it's amazing to have you on.
Yeah.
You are an amazing character. You are solid, strong. You are the guy that travels any and everywhere to spread the gospel wherever he can, and it's just this is exactly why I wanted to have you on, because in this month usually is where we as Bajans really reflect on the things we have inherited, because this is our month of independence.
Right.
But since we are Christ followers first, we also have to think about our identity. Where did we come from? What were the things passed down to us?
Mm-hmm.
So people that know you would know you for your missionary work, your leadership, the things that you have poured into them.
Yeah.
But I want to give those who don't know you some context.
Yeah.
So we want to get into your story, because everyone has a story that led them to where they got to. So wherever you want to begin, bro.
Well, my mom is originally from St. Vincent, and so there was a volcano that erupted. So I'm taking you all the way back to the beginning of last year, and she had a choice to flee to either the U.S. or to Barbados, and so she came over to Barbados.
Okay.
I met my dad, and so that's how I came to be. So I am in some ways extremely grateful for that volcano.
For real.
Is it saying? Yeah, but my mom and dad, I wasn't raised with them. I was sent to live with my grandparents from like the age of, I believe it was either 3 or 6 months. I don't ever remember the exact age that I was As the story has been told to me, I believe it was either at 3 months or 6 months, I was sent to live with my grandparents. So I never really grew up with my parents for a number of various reasons. And so my grandparents, they were the ones that took care of me. So I am a grandparent's child.
Yeah. Like that for the village.
Yeah, 100%. And so that means that they raised me the best way that they knew how, right? They would do everything for me. Wash my clothes, press my clothes, send me to school, take care of me. They treated me with so much love and respect, in their own way. The challenge is that that environment, even though I experienced a lot of love, I was also exposed to a lot of different things.
Right.
And so, growing up, you would see, you're accustomed to police surrounding the house, kicking the door down because of an uncle who was addicted to drugs and given to robberies and different criminal activity. And so that marked a lot of my life and my experience growing up. 5 in the morning, 6, 7 police jeeps surrounding the entire house. Sanai's kicking the door down, and your little cousins with you are just scared, like, what is going on? And so light spotted in your face, and it was tough. But that's what I experienced growing up, and in some ways, those things really had a big impression on who I was as an individual. And I think, given the fact that my father was also once addicted to cocaine, given to marijuana use, it felt as though, like every single meal around me, at least those that had direct influence over my life, were somehow involved in either criminal activity or drug abuse of some sort.
Right.
And we know that environment is such a powerful thing because your environment contributes to what you're exposed to. Your environment contributes to the things that you are able to see or to hear, and the things that you feel and touch. So your environment contributes significantly to your exposure, and your exposure determines the way that you process information and the way that you begin to view the world, all of that stuff. And so, naturally, by the age of 11 years old, right, I started to use drugs. I took my first marijuana joint. Before that, I would fool around. I would smoke Clamor Charlies. I would, smoke cigarette butts with the kids, just hanging out and doing crazy things. But at 11 years old, I was coming home one day, and I was underneath a church shed. I got called under a church shed by a guy. This is probably the second or the third time that he tried to offer me drugs, actually.
Now imagine he did it at a church.
Bruh, he was cutting up marijuana underneath the church shed that evening. I had not long set the 11 plus exam, so there wasn't a whole lot going on. I was, left school a little bit early. I was walking home, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up, Imran? You good? Da da da." And I go under the shed, and he's like, "Hey, hold this," and I just took it. And that was my first marijuana journey. And from there,
straight for it.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
So like that, it sounds like through that environment, what was passed down to you, what you inherited from that, it was all of the vices. Because you said that particularly men in your life were all in that kind of sphere.
Yeah.
So then,
and my grandfather smoked. He would import tobacco. Yeah, he had like several pipes. I remember growing up, I just seen him with the pipe. He drank. He abused alcohol. There are many times he would come home drunk. And everybody in the house would be either scared or annoyed or angry. Different emotions. I remember him doing something so crazy. I don't think our family's ever spoken about this publicly before, but My grandfather came home one day. It was Christmas, Christmas afternoon or something. And we are having lunch at the table, and I think my grandfather took like a stick of dynamite and lit it at the table and fell asleep before the fuse, got short enough to catch. And my grandmother or one of my aunts took it, pulled the fuse up, because he was a well digger. So as well diggers, they would have access to do it with certain amount of dynamite and stuff like that. So crazy things, and but I also experienced a lot of love there. I think what was difficult about the space was, in addition to the drug abuse, the criminal element, the police being involved, and so forth, was my parents weren't there.
Right.
I grew up with my grandparents, my aunts and uncles showering, love as best as they can. But there were times where they would bring home stuff and they would take it to their bedroom because it's exclusively for their children.
Right.
And I can't be vexed with that.
Yeah.
Because you, as a parent, you can be good to me, but I'm not your son, I'm not your daughter, you know what I mean? And so they took stuff to their children, and it was okay for the others because then they knew their parents, their parents may bring something for their cousins one week, but they will also be called into the bedroom at some point by their parents, So, but for me, I never had anybody to call me in the bedroom. You know what I mean? I would, and so I think that was particularly tough. And so I think I would often ask myself, man, like, what's wrong with me, Because I think as children, we internalize a lot of that, and we think that we're the problem. What did I do to my father? What did I do to my mom? And they were poor. My mom, was struggling a little bit, financially, and she just wasn't in a position to take care of 4 children. And my dad addicted to drugs. My grandfather just loved me. I was like, I want him. But I felt like, why am I living with my grandparents? So there was a measure of rejection I heard, not understanding. And I think that also played a part in the rebellion that I would find myself given to in the course of my teenage years. So 11 years old, I smoked that marijuana joint. And then from there, went to a really good school, but from first form, just getting involved in trouble, deviant activity, maintain my grades, would end school with an average of 80%. And so it wasn't an issue of intelligence. I just then began to get extremely deviant and divisive and wicked, and began to take people's money and start to smoke more marijuana, start to sell marijuana at school and different places. In my mind, I began to think, this is what you do. This is what I grew up seeing. The block was at one point my house, So I started to do the things that I saw other men do, because in my mind, this is what it means to be a man, not realizing that I just was missing a real godly man to help me to understand what real manhood is. So bro, it was crazy.
Yeah, to me that's big, because when that's all you see and you think that's all there is, then you think that's all you could ever become as a man.
That's right, 100%.
I could also relate to some of what you're saying, coming from a house that had its issues, that went through its trials. And then when you're in the midst of it, your vision gets myopic. You don't see the guys that are doing a good job. You don't see the guys that are walking straight. You're seeing all of the chaos that's going on around you, and it becomes something that it's funny, because it's not like your family was like, here, Imran, take all of this foolishness. But it's almost like, as a child, when you grow up, you accept that almost like an inheritance. Because I'm in it, I'm the one next.
Of course. You accept it as an inheritance. Such a phenomenal statement, because you cannot say yes to something that you can't see. Right? So the things that you're going to say yes to are the things that are within your purview, the things that you can see. And then the things that you are able to see, that are at a distance are for other people. They're not for you.
And not for you.
Yeah, that's that.
Yo.
And like, so like, it becomes like, it's like, yeah, man, you know, going to school and studying and doing good things. Like, I could see it, but it ain't for me. It's for other people. You know, access to this or that, or being able to live a particular way. I can see that for somebody else, but I can't see it for myself, for you. And I think that was a part of the challenge, is you begin to resign yourself to an existence that in your mind, this is the best that I can do. Because this is what I know. This is what I am familiar with. This is what I am accustomed to. And I think that's where you gotta begin to think, how do I disinherit myself from some of the negative things? Because, you know, a lot of times we view like that idea of inheritance as a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
I inherit this, or I inherit this amount of money, or I inherit that, or I inherited these traits or behaviors from, but like, sometimes you go also ask yourself, what are the things that I need to disinherit?
What are the things that got divorced from?
Yeah, the things that I need to push back on, the things I need to divorce myself from, you know, and be able to do that, discern that quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't able to do that. And the thing is that my family would often say, you know, this is not, you don't want to go down this road, you don't want to live this life, you know, and they would try to steer me and my family away, my cousins and so forth, away from a life that they were living. But the fact of the matter was that they were living that life. And we all know you grew up, do as I
say, as I do.
It doesn't work. I remember coming home as a 14, 15-year-old, 16, 13-year-old from the gambling den, bro, from the ghetto, the block gambling, Chino, tongue, Romy, you know, poker, like, dice, whatever it is, coming home at 1, 2 in the morning, 12 o'clock at midnight, and nobody ain't coming looking for me, like, 1 over 8 a.m. There's no accountability, there's no discipline. You know what? Because my family members, and they see
It's the same thing.
at the same table. Sometimes we would play partners across from each other. So, and I would call that freedom. And this is where I think, even as we consider this idea of independence, I think and reflect on Barbados, not that you want to wax philosophical, but you also got to ask yourself, what really is freedom? Because was what I was experiencing really freedom? Because other children be like, man, you get to be outside. I just go be outside by this time. I go to church. I go be there. I go with certain people. My parents is got a strict hold on me, and they would be like, but you got so much freedom. Like, did it? Like, was that really freedom?
Is that actually freedom?
Bro, was that freedom or was that bondage? You know what I mean? Was that bondage? Because anyway, like
Fam, that is a big one, because I find that when you look at the state of our community right now, and you look at the young people going back from, this is where they've lived, this is what they have seen, and the Bible talks about how a lot of us love darkness more than light. So we've actually come to fall in love with some of the quote-unquote freedoms that we've gotten. Because we get to do whatever our flesh want to do at the time. Go here, do what we got to do, come back home, look at accountability. But then, like you said, is for us to recognize that in those moments, there is core things that are missing. There's love that's not there. There's identity that's confused. And so then for me I wonder how many of us have accepted what we have seen, never questioned it, never stopped to think, is there more? And then what does it take to move from that place? So like for you, having gone through all of that to then get to the point where you're now faced with a godly inheritance, you're now faced with the reality of Christianity and Jesus' love. What was the point for you that made opened your eyes to see where you were at, start to move forward?
I mean, see, the thing about sin is that you enjoy it until you begin to endure it. You know, you you begin to smoke your little marijuana, everybody watching, and you feel like, yeah, I am the guy, and you get it. You begin to build a reputation in the community, and sin on the surface seems enjoyable. As a matter of fact, like sin is pleasurable, right? Sin is pleasurable, but what people don't know is that there's a price for that pleasure.
Yeah.
Right? You will enjoy sin, but sin will enslave you. You know, bro,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think I came to that point where one joint became 2 joints, became 3, became 4, became 10 joints a day, 15 joints a day. Until marijuana now begins to define your existence, begins to define your life. No, you begin to skip class because people that smoke marijuana, at least in the social circles that I was in, weren't interested in school. School was boring. School was for class. School was for class nerds. School was for these 4A kids. You know, like school had nothing to offer me, and so you begin to connect a belief to the behavior,
Right.
because now you got to justify the behavior, right?
Right.
So the fact that you doing this thing over and over, people, what you smoking, and you're gonna repeat things that you hear other people say, not that you know this thing to be true. But the reality is that this is what other people say about this particular thing. You know, my marijuana was born on Solomon grave.
Oh,
You know, it was this, it was that. You know, this is calm me down.
yeah.
This is relax me.
It's true.
And bro, you don't got a clue what you smoking.
Fact.
You're doing things. There was a quote that I came across that talks about how we inherit other people's enemies as ours as a sign of loyalty. But in fact, it's a sign of stupidity. Like the biggest sign of stupidity is inheriting other people's enemies as yours, right? Because of loyalty, so-called loyalty. So long you begin to be at war with people, and you don't even know what you at war with. Then you don't even know what the beef was over. You just know that the guy that you just roll with don't like this body, and so no, you don't like that body too, and you put your whole life in danger because you try to show that you loyal. And you know, the idea of gangs is extremely myopic, right? Because it is a small view of community. That's really what gangs are. Gangs are a myopic view of community. If you only view these 5-10 people as this is my crew, as a myopic perspective on community. And so you can begin to live out from that perspective. Anybody else outside this community, even though the guys around you black same way.
Yeah.
You know, the other guys in the other community, you know, black and poor, and come from a similar background to you as slaves and ancestors of slaves, etc. Right? You know, so you don't think about the stuff that you were doing. And so I quickly found myself at a place where I just started to do, and before I knew it, I wasn't enjoying the say in marijuana. I was enjoying it, and it was slowly enslaving. It was, you know what? I started to steal from people, skip class, stop going to school certain days, and I go into the block, pretending to go to school, but going to the block, getting involved in crime, violence, stealing things, you know, bullying people, till eventually got involved in gang violence to the extent that it blew up significantly and got expelled from school. You know, through a series of events, and got kicked out of school. Really violent events, got kicked out of school as a result, and I felt like my life was just like I was just headed down to a path of full and complete destruction, and it was that sin had like fully taken hold of me, you know. And my grandparents and hearts were broken, at this young man who once was full of energy, had big aspirations, extremely intelligent and bright, and could really do something and make something of his life. No, he's become a casualty of the culture, just another statistic, another young man given to the streets, to the ghetto, living out the things that he lived in, you know, and living out the same environment that he lived in. Like he found himself going that place, and when they got expelled from school, it really broke their heart. That was like the last straw. And threatened to put me out the holes, do different things, and But the turning point then was at the age of 19 years old. I met a policeman in the church, is praying, and so forth. And a policeman decided that he was going to do a little bit more than pray, that he is going to step out and just by faith they invite me to have lunch with him and his family. Well, as the first thing he did. And a few, I somehow said yes to this policeman. I'd hate police, I mean, sure,
Boy, through all of that, I had as much.
I hate police, but somehow he said yes. 2 days later, the policeman calls back again. I don't know this guy from Adam, but just he got married to a lady that grew up in the community with me and from the community, and so he moved into the community. And 2 days later, he calls back and he's like, bro, like, I mean, if you come into lunch, like, it would be so much easier if you just come to church. And what he and others, may not have known is that, like, 1 week before this policeman invites me to church, I was on the block. I was smoking a joint because it was around Christmas time. I got saved January the 11th, 2004. Right? And so in December, right after Christmas, 2003, I was on the block. I was smoking a marijuana joint that was wrapped in 2 wrappers. It's Christmas time, it's celebrating.
Yeah.
And I was drinking a Hennessy brandy, what people would call a long neck had Hennessy brandy from the bottle. Every time I drank and I smoked, my throat just began to burn. They felt like, saying, so they off, saying wrong. And I just hear like this voice, like, it's life for you. So like, you can do better, and this life for you. Like you can do. Like, you were made for so much more than a Hennessy bottle. You were made for more than a marijuana joint. Like, what are you doing? This life for you.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Just popping in to say that if you haven't already, make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to stay updated with all of the content that is coming your way. Join me on the journey of finding the missing link. Peace.
And I get it, and I gave somebody the joint, somebody the alcohol. Years later, the person said to me, I did not know this at the time, but years later, the person said to me, Imran, I knew that when you gave me that marijuana joint and that Hennessy bottle that day, and you got off of that old blue car. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And you got off of that old blue car and began to walk in. I felt like you were not going to come back on the block. I felt like this was the last thing that you would see him. Is that he didn't know why? He didn't know where he got that feeling. He just had this thought. This is gonna be the last. He's walking away from this life. So I was like, I went home that day, and I fell on my bed. I just began. I was like, God, like, if you can get me out of this life, because now I can't go to certain communities because of the gang violence. I can't travel on certain buses through certain roads, etc. because of the gang violence. Like, my life at this point is in danger on a constant basis. I can't wait to toll the gang violence because of the gang violence. And I was like, God, if you can get me out of this life before it is too late, I can give you everything. My mother, as I shared before, is from St. Vincent. So I went down for a wedding, all my uncles, and everybody smoking marijuana. Buckets of marijuana. My family growing marijuana in the hills. Like, I was like, look, and every devil again, my goodness. But I started to put things in place to ship marijuana from St. Vincent to Barbados. So I was like, God, like, if you don't get me out of this life, I get either dead, or I get ended up in prison, or I get ended up rich with a lot of enemies. Whatever it is that you, God, get me out of this life before this first shipment, before, too late, you God, get me into this life. And a week later is when I'm having this conversation with this policeman without even recognizing the connection. Like, and I just don't want your police. I just say nice to me. I just say yes to be nice to this policeman. But it's only after all of the events, and then began to reflect. I was like, God, you can't, like, nobody can tell God. My uncle would always say with an answer. I was a sinner crying out to God, for an open door on my bed, high and drunk. Yeah. And in that moment of, I don't know, supernatural sobriety, bro, like, God answered a misguided teenager here. So the policeman invites me to church. I get it the Sunday morning. I began to get ready. All of my family began to look at me weird. You know, like you get
What you doing? Where you going? Where is Imran going?
And I get into the car with him and his wife, and silence in the vehicle. We have nothing in common. And I get to the church. You know, I look over the other side of the road as the policeman was parking, and I just saw the faces of everybody in the church and the congregation, and I was like, brother, this is what I am missing. Like, this is what my life needs. It's almost like their faces were shining. It's like these people were exuding joy and pleasure that I longed for. But in the spaces that I was looking, only found pain, you know, like, and I remember just going into the church and weeping, just crying, not thinking of the sermon, nothing, just weeping, and in tears and snot running down my nose. Yeah. Sorry if that is TMI, you know, bro. I give my life to the Lord here in full, in complete surrender, and never look back. And I think there was a divine exchange that happened there. You know, I traded one inheritance for another. You know, bro, like 100%. You know, and one of the things that I've said to people, you gotta come to a place in your life where you break generational curses and establish generational blessings. Yeah. And I think that was the beginning of the breaking of generational curses and the establishing of generational blessings over million. Yeah, it is 100%.
One thing that I want to really bring out is the fact that in the midst of everything that you were going through, you reached a point where you heard that voice.
Yeah.
I would venture to say it was the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, that one point where it's like, Imran, this is not the life for you.
Yeah.
I think that point right there is what started to shift it for you.
Yeah.
So then, know that you see yourself where you're at that point is when you cry out to God. And then we see the goodness of God to send a policeman, like the last man that you would think would talk to somebody like this, a policeman. But I want to highlight that because there's so much power in the seeds that we plant into the ones who are behind us. Yeah. Because there are people who watch us who, like you, had an inheritance of all of the curses from their families, where they grew up around alcoholism, they grew up around abuse, that's all they know. And then they see people who live in love, the love of God, the love of the fellowship of the brethren. And that completely rocks their world. They don't know what that looks like. Yeah. But that one seed is what starts to shift them to start thinking, okay, maybe I could have this for myself. Yeah. I think what I see for you is that in that moment in the church, know the inheritance that you saw in the distance that other people had. Know you said, okay, I could have this too. Yeah. So the part I want is hope for me still. Facts. So what I really want to know is that throughout your Christian journey, you accepted the call to mission work, going out there and inheriting, dropping those seeds for others that was dropped for you. Yeah. And I'm curious to know where was that born? Is that something you always had, but is like a Moses thing where Moses killed the Egyptian? It wasn't his time to lead. But then when he came closer to God, he led the Israelites. That was always in him. Right. Is a situation where you always had that, or was it something that only came to you after you came to Christ?
Yeah. You know, as you reflect and you watch the lives of other people, you read, etc., you begin to realize that purpose is oftentimes born out of pain. You know, And for me, I immediately developed a passion to do for other young men that were trapped in this vicious cycle of drugs, violence, crime, poverty, perpetually. To do for them what God did for me, And so I think as I reflected on my own experience and of the pain that was caused by drug abuse, by fatherlessness, by growing up in poverty, etc., immediately I felt this desire to take a message of hope to other young men that found themselves in similar environments, to begin to cast vision for them, to see you do not have to live what you live in on a daily basis. And so I wouldn't say that it started with a desire for mission, but it started with a desire just to make an impact.
Yeah.
And as that desire began to grow, I began to realize more and more that the solution to the problem of deviance among adolescents is Jesus.
Yep.
And I think that's where the mission came. It moved from simply just wanting to help a young man to make better choices and to not find himself involved in drugs and to waste his life to, I want to give you something more than just good habits to live by. I want that at the end of my conversation with you, the end of my time, that you are more than a better citizen. I want you to be a better citizen. I want you to be a contributing, a citizen to the upliftment and so forth of the nation of Barbados. I want you to play your part, but I want you to find Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think, people would invite me to share my story, my testimony, to speak at, different youth ministries. And I think out of that, this passion was born. Maybe not just here in Barbados, but could God use me in other parts of the world? And people would share, via prophetic voice, Imran, God is calling you to the nations. And to be honest, people often say those types of things, and you get excited, call to the nations.
Yeah.
I had no idea, bruh, that I would travel to almost 70 countries, or traverse 5 continents, and some of those countries, multiple times, shared the gospel, made an impact. But I think there were a few things for sure that contributed to that. So the pain that I experienced, the desire to make an impact, recognizing that the solution is Jesus, but also like a lot of time in prayer. And when I got saved, I began to give myself to just prayer, hours of prayer. God, I want to do your will. I want to live out your plan and your purpose for my life. I don't want to be an ordinary, average believer. I don't just want to be here and be fully aware of what I was saved from. I want you to help me to understand, what am I being saved for? What are you calling me to? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And the more that I did that, the more that I began to pray, the more things began to become clear about what I wanted to do with my life. So I remember leaving the job that I had at Supercenter. I had a job at Supercenter from the time I was like in 4th form or 5th form or something, at like this, maybe 4th form at school. And they'd given me a permanent spot after leaving school, and I remember leaving that and going on my first missionary trip to Germany. This is by myself and another guy, to Germany. And just the worst experience ever.
Oh my goodness. That was, I think, the
worst experience, bro, hardest experience, but one of the most enjoyable experiences that confirmed, I want to do this. who were there. Nobody wanted to hear anything about Jesus. You know, like Germany has maybe one or
There's a lot of atheists.
that what it is, yeah, less than 1% of the population that identified as Christian, right? And so imagine this was a country where Martin Luther, you know, the Protestant Reformation was born out of, and well, you know, it's no country where it's completely secular, you know. And so anyway, nobody wanted to hear about Jesus. People would tell you straight to your face, you know. They care nothing about your Jesus, you know. Their families, their God, their careers, their God, and they would tell you these things. The last day of that trip, we saw a guy playing guitar on the street.
Yeah.
And it was gospel music.
Okay.
And we just he spoke to us first, spoke to us, myself and the other guy, and he was like, "You guys want to join me?" And we were like, "Sure." And it was the best day. Children started to come around the guitar. You were able to share and pass out information and help people about Jesus, and the children were interested and listening. And you know, in that moment, though it was a really difficult week, I just felt like the confirmation of the Lord that this is what I want you to do, you know, and I just never looked back.
Yeah. What's significant to me is that when I look back on how the story has played out, in the moment you gave your life to Christ, you said you had that exchange.
Yeah.
You exchanged the inheritance of your childhood to know a godly inheritance.
Yeah.
And with that came a new identity.
Yeah, 100%.
And a new purpose. Yeah. No, you saw that vision of helping all the people that God was sending you to. No, you had a real reason to keep on living.
Yeah.
Real reason that brought life to you. So that's significant, because when I think about even my own life, I think about how God has given me that inheritance of purpose, understanding that you are here for a reason, that your life counts.
Yeah.
So to me, that is a message I want the young people to understand.
Yeah.
Because it's something that it can get lost. Is one of those things where when you look at the world around us, how it's evolving, technologies are advancing, people are becoming more successful. There's this, our generation is the most depressed that we've ever seen. Because on top of the family chaos, there's also trying to figure out how we're going to navigate this ever-changing world.
Yeah.
When you've gotten that inheritance of, there's a lack of self-agency, you don't think you're good enough, you can't do anything. With a world that's rapidly changing, there's a lot of hopelessness that can happen there. But our message is that because of Jesus, we are given a new identity.
Yeah.
What I love about God is that he does not leave us where we were.
Yeah, come on.
When we come to Jesus, right, he gives us a new name spiritually. He gives us that new character.
Yeah.
And when you get that new character, it's as if a fire lights in you. Because now you see, okay, this is why I'm here. All this time before, there were questions there. It was cloudy there. But at that moment, it becomes clear.
Yeah.
Now you can see, I need to speak to these people. I need to tell them this. So my encouragement, guys, for real, is that if you find yourself in a low spot, and you don't know where else to turn to, you can turn to Jesus.
Yeah.
He lets us know that he loves us dearly. And he is a God that does not bring you to one point and say, you figure it out. He's the type of God that will take you by the hand and walk you through every step of the process. We have a comforter, the Holy Spirit, that teaches us what we weren't taught. He teaches us how to be good people. He teaches us the love we didn't see. He teaches us the peace we never had. He teaches us the fellowship we longed for. Like when I think about the body of Christ and the family of Christ, that's also our inheritance. We move from a family that was broken to a family that's united by literally the God of the universe. You go anywhere in the world, you find a Christian. That is your brother. Literally. So
That's right.
I am just again excited because I'm just grateful
And
that God is a God of restoration.
He is.
Because when I look at your life, Imran, I just see restoration. I see a God that saw someone that was struggling and said, "Not this one. Yeah, I got something for you to do."
Yeah, 100%. I tell you, right? Like Jesus was by, I think it was Bethsaida, where he spoke to Peter and said, "Follow me." And Peter had a decision to make in that moment. I am either going to stay here, continue fishing, continue my life as a fisherman, or I am going to let go of my nets and follow this Jesus. And I think all of us are given that invitation. It's the same invitation that I heard. You were made for more. You were made for more than this marijuana joint. You were created for something bigger, something better. Your life has value and inherent purpose. Like you were born and created for a purpose. You know, your life has inherent value. Follow me.
Yeah.
Follow me. And I will make you. You're not there right now. You're not that person right now. But if you follow me, I will make you. Because it's what he did with Peter. It's like, follow me. You know, if Peter had stayed, Peter would have been a fisherman for the rest of his life. He would never have realized his potential to become one of the greatest apostles, you know, that ever lived. The person on which the church was founded and built. The one who got to preach the first sermon and see 3,000 got saved. Like we saw the journey of Peter. And it wasn't a journey of perfection.
No.
It wasn't one where he didn't make mistakes. When it came to Jesus, I still made mistakes. I still had big challenges. I had big growth gaps that I needed to cut the distance on. I still had issues with my parents, with family, with different ones, you know. And I had to deal with a lot of drama from my past. But I made the decision that I was going to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And as I followed him through the narrow spaces, as I followed him through the ups, through the downs, he began to make me in the same way he made Peter a fisher of men. He began to make me. He began to shape and fashion and mold and say, Imran, or you see that walk there? Don't walk like I want you to walk like watch how I walk. If you John 1 John 2:6, anybody that claims to be it must walk as he will. Watch me. He began to address my walk, you know, the way that I live, the decisions, the things that I would say, etc. And today, I can confidently say, bro, that who I am has absolutely nothing to do with my cognitive ability, has nothing to do with how erudite I might be. It has nothing to do with how crafty and cunning and strategic, you know, and careful with planning I am. It is all to do with Jesus, you know. And I think if there's a young person out there who is wrestling with a decision that is before you right now, to either follow Jesus or to stay where you are, then I want to encourage you to follow Jesus. You know, like what I loved about that verse is where the Bible says Peter let go of his nets. You know, like you can't follow Jesus and hold on to your nets too. You gotta let go of your nets.
Yeah, man, you cooking.
Yeah, and I was like, bro, like let go of your nets. I don't know where your nets are. I don't know. For me, it was drugs and marijuana and that type of stuff. I don't know where. Let go of your nets and follow Jesus. You may be holding on to your nets because that's what's comfortable. You know, that's what's gonna get you a little bit of results. Selling weed used to get me a little bit of money. Like you know why those nets are important to you. Jesus is saying, if you let go of those nets, I am going to give you something greater. And I experienced that, bro. I experienced that 100%. My father's is completely free from drugs. My uncle that the police would be coming for, he is not just free from drugs, but he's a believer. He's married. He used to go back to the prison and preach the gospel. My mother got saved. You know, tons of my family members got saved and baptized. Like the Lord has been, man, like incredible.
Yeah.
Breakthrough in my family, breakthrough in my life. And if he can do it for me, man, there's no doubt in my head that he can do it for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, I even just say all of how God's transformation of your life led to the transformation of your family.
Yeah, 100%.
And I kind of compare it to how, so for me, you know that I play golf for Barbados, but my story doesn't start with my dad playing golf or my parents playing golf. It starts with me playing golf.
Yeah.
And because I play golf, my family get to play golf.
Wow.
So now thinking about it this way, with how good God is, changing your inheritance, then changing the inheritance of your family. So,
Come on, it's powerful.
bro, as we are wrapping things up, what's deeply on my heart is the person that's on the face. Because they've seen this in their entire life. Is this one thing? This is what's on me. This is what my family went through. There's nothing else out there for me. But they're seeing signs that there could be something more.
Yeah.
But it's that decision that you made, that decision to walk forward towards it. Because what the thing about God's inheritance is that God does not force it on anybody.
And
It's one of those things where he's ready to give it.
yeah.
But it's when you say, God, I am ready to receive it.
Yeah, correct.
So I want to pray
Yeah.
for the ones that are struggling,
Yeah.
that they will get to that point where they decide to change over their inheritance and start to receive the promises of God,
Yeah.
receive his adoption.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, of course, man. And I think even as we get ready to pray, one of the major things that holds people back from making a solid decision to follow Jesus, it's not because they don't want to do it. It's because they don't know what other people will think about them doing it.
Yep.
You know, and God, forget about other people sometimes. This is the selfish decision that you are allowed to make.
Facts.
Where you think about yourself. Yeah, and so if you are sitting on the fence, man, ain't nobody that can make that decision for you but yourself. So, Father, I just ask you for the person who is, listening to this interview, this podcast, God, and has been wrestling for a long time with this decision. God, I pray that you would give them grace.
Yes.
Give them the courage necessary to say yes to you. Finally, yes. Courageously, yes. Firmly, yes. Boldly, yes to you, God. May they know that you are gentle, that your yoke is easy, your burden is light, and that you are an expert in great transfers. You're an expert in moving people out of Egypt, place of hurt and pain and bondage and enslavement, and transporting them to the land of promise. God, I pray that you would remind these individuals of what you did for Daniel, of what you did for Joseph, of what you did for me, for Xavier. And Father, would you affirm to them that if you were able to do it for them, for us, that you were able to do it for this individual as well, for these individuals as well. Because you are the same God as you were yesterday, today, and forever. So we commit them into your hands. And we declare that they are bigger, they are more than what they may have inherited, than what they may have grown up in. That they are not defined by their circumstances, but that they could be today defined by their choice to follow you or change the rest of their lives. We thank you for doing this. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Bro,
Yeah.
I appreciate this so much. It's so good hanging with you, bro.
Thank you for the invitation, man. It was great to be here.
Oh yeah, this can't be the last thing, right? You literally live about 5 minutes from so you don't know.
Anytime, bro. You good.
But guys, I hope that you heard his heart. This is a man that traded his inheritance and has seen the goodness of God throughout his life as he has chosen to follow him. So I want to appeal to anyone who hears this podcast and that makes that decision to follow Jesus. Let us know. Send a message, send a DM on Instagram, send a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Let us connect with you, because the importance of making that decision is then finding community. Because as a Christian, you don't only inherit a new identity, you inherit a family. And we are walking this walk together. We keep each other accountable and we walk in our purpose. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. Stay tuned to the next episode of The Link. Until next time, God bless. And we'll see you then. Peace.